talk about Chicago, where Jason Van Dyke is on trial for murder for killing Laquan McDonald. Now, yesterday, the defense showed the jury a 3D reconstruction of the shooting from the officer's point of view. Now, take a look. Now, you see this, this is their reconstruction of this. Now, here's the issue. We actually have a video that actually shows what took place. And if they're trying to also show that McDonald was a threat to the officer, you don't see that in the video. You don't see it because it's not like he was charging towards him. Remember, Van Dyke lied, initially saying Laquan McDonald was charging towards him with a knife. Yet when the dash cam video came out, it showed that Laquan McDonald was actually moving away from the officer. And we also know that Chicago police officers went to the nearby Burger King where they had surveillance cameras there and erased the video. That's called a cover-up. Joining us right now to tell us what took place in the courtroom today, we have WGN Radio, Mate Pongo. Mate, and so this reconstruction, I'm sorry, this reconstruction, I'm just trying to understand there's an actual videotape of Laquan McDonald being shot.
Right. The defense was trying hard to make the case that what we saw in the video from Van Dyke's perspective was a bit different from what you'd see from the dash cam video. They're saying that he closed in on Officer Van Dyke. And if you see that numbered meter at the top of the video you just showed there, it shows the amount of feet that Laquan McDonald is away from Van Dyke. Well, he closes in, according to this video, at about 16 feet. Now, right there, you see at about 16 feet. They say he's closing in. He began walking at 30 feet. Now he's at 16 feet, 13 feet when those shots were fired. That's the case that the defense wants to make. On cross-examination, prosecutors began to say, well, if this video is so accurate, why then don't we see the bulletproof vest that the officer is wearing? Also looks like in the video that Laquan McDonald is wearing all black. What is... In actuality, he was wearing blue jeans. They start to point out these really minute details to try to just cast doubt on the validity of the video, aside from a lot of the other discrepancies that you mentioned, Roland.
And obviously, they want to create reasonable doubt. They're trying to actually plant that in the minds of the jury. I'm just not buying that it's working.
Yeah, they fought quite the uphill battle. Today, what happened in court was another uphill battle. The guy who actually made the phone call to police officers, Rudy Barrios, he's a truck driver. He was one of 7 witnesses called by the defense today. And before court started, Judge Vincent Gahn said, if he's not in this courtroom today, I'm going to strike that video that we just saw from the evidence that's presented to the jury. And he hasn't, prior to today, showed up to any of the court appearances. And likely because he didn't want to be a part of this high-profile case, but he did show up in the courtroom today. And in his testimony today, he said that Laquan McDonald lunged at him with the knife and that he threw a cell phone at him and threw some rocks and some gravel at him. And that's when Laquan McDonald ran away. And he called police officers and said that there's a teen who seems to be breaking into cars. He thinks he's stealing car radios. And that's when the police arrived at the scene. Prosecutors in cross-examination said, well, you were able to fend him off with your cell phone and a handful of gravel, correct? And he said, correct. And, I'll let you see what the takeaway might be from that.
Bottom line is, Jason Van Dyke's defense team, they have an uphill battle again. When you actually have a videotape, a dash cam videotape showing what took place, it's a little hard to reconstruct the lie. They did lie that night by actually putting one thing in the police report, and the city, tried everything they could not to release that dash cam videotape, and now we know why.
There are definitely some other falsehoods that the prosecutor wanted to point out. So also called today by the defense was Leticia Velez, the police officer who was there at the scene the night that Laquan McDonald was shot. In her testimony, she told the jury that her partner immediately went and frisked Laquan McDonald once he was shot, and that's when the knife was recovered. In the dash cam video, the moments immediately after he was shot, you don't see him pick up the knife. You don't see officers attend to him. You don't see them search or frisk him. And the prosecution said, this seems to be inconsistent with what we see in the video. She doubled down and said, if that's what I said, that's what happened. So you have a few inconsistencies. A lot of what was said in the police report doesn't seem to square away with what we see in the video. That is part of a different case that will be forthcoming involving the other police officers who were there the night that Laquan McDonald was shot. And in days prior, last week, some of the officers that were called to the stand were given immunity in order to testify because, they could be they could receive some disciplinary action because of the inconsistencies with their reports.
Shocking. Chicago police officers lying on the stand. Don Mattia, we certainly appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.